Hello, friends. So today I have on my channel my special friend and guest Asjad from England. Hello, Asjad. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much, Amit. Very, very happy to be here. Glad I could jump on with you to discuss this all important World Test Championship final. So, yeah, very happy to be here.
Yeah. Today we will be discussing about the WTC final between India and New Zealand. We will be doing a detailed discussion about it. But before that, I would like to tell that Asjad also has his own YouTube channel. So, what would you say about your channel, Asjad?
Of course, yeah. So, I started my channel about 8, 9 months ago. It's called Cricket for Us 2.0. And yeah, I do a lot of similar things to as you do with regards to all the cricket from around the world. I talk about franchise cricket, test cricket, ODIs, T20s. I have guests on my show as well. So we talk about specific discussions that are happening right now, or just interviews with specific cricket players or journalists and things like that. So it's all things cricket, for lack of a better term. So yeah, please do check out my channel if you get a chance as well. Thank you.
What's the name of your channel?
Cricket for Us 2.0.
Okay. So, Jad, which team are you supporting in this final? Be honest.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm supporting India, but objectively, I think New Zealand will win. That's the honest truth. Like, I want India to win, but objectively, it looks like New Zealand has a better chance of winning, especially this final, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm an Indian, so I am of course supporting India. But telling you the truth, New Zealand is one of my favorite team after India because New Zealand are such a nice people and they play the game in such a fair manner. And I have noticed that they have been into World Cup semi-finals and finals in the past, but they couldn't win. So there is some sympathy feeling also. But I would like India to win. But New Zealand is also one of my favorites. So, just talking about this match, both the teams have declared their 15-member squad now. So, if any injury happens to any of the player, you will have to pick your playing 11 from this team only. You can't take any player other than this squad. So, I would first of all like to know your views about the Indian squad because they haven't chosen Shardul Thakur, Mayank, and Rahul. These are the some notable names missing, and they have included Umesh Yadav and Hanuma Vihari. So, what are your views about that? Are you happy with this strategy? Is this the correct strategy or something wrong here?
Honestly, I think it logically it makes sense, and the reason why it makes sense to me is because Umesh Yadav is a like-for-like replacement for someone like Ishant Sharma. And Mohammad Siraj is a like-for-like replacement for someone like Mohammad Shami. Jasprit Bumrah does not have a genuine replacement because Jasprit Bumrah is just Jasprit Bumrah. So if they were looking at it in terms of a bowling perspective, they have a backup for both of their other top pace bowlers. Okay.
But you see the pace bowlers they have selected, so none of them are, you can say, bowling all-rounders. Shardul Thakur was a bowling all-rounder, so he would have given that depth in the batting if you decide to play four bowlers.
Yeah, the only issue with going with someone like Shardul Thakur, yes, he's had a very, very good time since debuting in or coming back in Australia and playing a couple of games after that. But I don't think he would be a sure shot in the best Indian 11 side that they could bring to England, if you know what I mean. Even though it's in England, you expect, yes, you're going to get seam, you're going to get swing movement. But the way India is set up, they play their best team. They're not thinking, oh, just the conditions, but their best side does not have Shardul Thakur anywhere in their sides. I saw a lot of different discussions where they said, oh, Shardul instead of Ashwin or Shardul instead of someone like Shami. Or
Shardul does give the balance to the team, to the playing 11.
I understand that it gives a balance, but I don't think he's that good with the bat to be able to warrant a place in this final. At least that's my take on it in terms of, but I understand where you're coming from, that he offers the thing with the bat, he offers with the ball as well, but he maybe doesn't need to be refined a bit more, but I don't think he's the best player to be included for the Indian 11, or at least in the Indian 15-member squad. You mentioned a couple of other names, players like Hanuma Vihari. The only reason Hanuma Vihari is in the squad is because he's playing the county championship. And even in the county championship, he's not been playing very, very well, but he's just used to the conditions. which is why they're thinking, oh, maybe we go with Vihari in case Rahane or Pujara, God forbid, something happens to them, so Vihari comes in. So even Vihari is a very, very backup option. And the reason why KL Rahul hasn't been selected is because of his fitness issues. He is, yes, he's considered fit, but he's not fully fit, which is the issue that they've kind of put across.
Well, if he is not fully fit, then I would say he shouldn't have been included in the original squad.
Agreed with you. I completely agree. And that's the thing. They bring on these players who are almost fit and ready to play, but then they can't really bank on them, can they? In this Indian lineup, if I ask you the same question, in this Indian lineup, in that top 6, who do you take out to bring in someone like KL Rahul?
Well, KL Rahul right now can be included if you decide to play an extra batsman at number 6 and go in with 4 bowlers. In that case, you can bring KL Rahul. But including KL Rahul or someone like Mayank Agarwal in the 15-member squad gives you a security that suppose one of the openers get injured right before the match, there is some freak injury. So both of these can also open and can also bat in the middle order. Like suppose Pujara gets injured just on the morning. So you can directly put Mayank Agarwal or KL Rahul at number 3 also. While in case of Vihari has played for India at number 6 only. And his performance has been only average or below average so far. So that's why I feel that Mayank or KL Rahul would have been better choice in the 15-member squad. And also, I feel Vihari, including Vihari, seems like a defensive move. What do you think?
Yeah, I think defensive, I was just going to come on to that point. You know, Vihari offers a little bit with the ball as well. So if India does go with 7 batsmen or 6 batsmen and a wicketkeeper, then Vihari can give you, let's say, 5, 7, 8 overs or something if required.
That's why I'm saying this is like a defensive approach, which usually India doesn't adopt.
Yeah. And the reason why they've gone with this, because they don't expect to play Hanuma Vihari. I'm telling you honestly, I knew India's lineup before, like 2 months ago, before everything was said and done, right? At the end of the England tour, you could have anyone could tell you what India's lineup should be in this World Test Championship final, because they are so good. They have so many good backups, but their set 11 is almost guaranteed. We saw since Australia, if you look at it, Shubman Gill debuted, and Shubman Gill is now their set opener with Rohit Sharma. That is obvious. Pujara, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, and Rishabh Pant are batting in the positions that they've been batting for the past 6 months. If we go below that, that's the all-rounders or bowlers. If you look at it, there is no way India can ever take out Ravi Jadeja or Ravi Ashwin. It's very, very difficult to take any of those two out of their sides. On top of that, it's in Southampton. And yes, Southampton is sometimes it's conducive to Spain, but because of the temperature, because of the sunshine that's been happening, because of the conditions that are coming up there, it seems like after day 2, day 3, the Spain will come into play. The bowlers will get some turn, at least from an Indian perspective.
Well, but I have a feeling that they might include Vihari at number 6 in the playing 11. Because I have been seeing Kohli's captaincy since he became the captain. And he, along with Ravi Shastri, our coach, they have a habit of bringing in some surprises in the playing 11, which sometimes I would say are not logical to me and look strange. So I won't be surprised if they end up including Vihari at number 6, because they have included him in the squad, and maybe resting or dropping one of the spinners. Maybe Ashwin, because Vihari bowls off spin, so they might be thinking we will put Vihari at number 6. He will be our off spinner. So I won't be surprised. Even I won't want India to do that. But that is something I am worrying about, that they might do. Because it will be unfair both to Ashwin and Jadeja if any of them gets dropped from this game.
Yeah, agreed. Because they're so good. They have been so important to India's victories throughout this championship that if they don't get a chance to play, especially Ashwin, because he doesn't play white ball cricket at all, does he anymore? So there's a few Indian players, Ajinkya Rahane, Cheteshwar Pujara, Ishant Sharma, Ravi Ashwin, who for them, this is their World Cup final, isn't it? Because they're not...
Ashwin also has a chance to be the top wicket taker of this tournament. He has 67 wickets. And Pat Cummins has the 70 wickets. He's the number one. So it's a golden opportunity for Ashwin. He has to play. And of course,
Yeah.
Jadeja has been in really good batting form. And so if they include Vihari in place of Jadeja, that would also not make sense, because the runs which Vihari will score, even Jadeja will score that, and Jadeja will give you the option of his bowling and his fielding also.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about the New Zealand squad, which they have chosen. So what is your opinion about the New Zealand 15-member squad?
I'm the only surprise to me was not having Mitchell Santner. But there's two reasons why there's no Mitchell Santner. Number one is he's injured. But number two is more important, which is in red ball, Mitchell Santner is not as good as someone like Ajaz Patel. Usually New Zealand favors Ajaz Patel in subcontinent conditions. But here we're probably seeing how well Ajaz Patel bowled in the second test against England, but also the fact that if Santner isn't fully fit, they need a backup spinner of some sort. And Ajaz Patel is definitely a better spinner and a more attacking option for someone like New Zealand. So that's the only surprise. Everyone else in that 15-man squad, I thought makes sense. Okay, Daryl Mitchell not being there makes sense to me because Colin de Grandhomme is a better version with the bat and with the ball. You have exactly more experience. You have Matt Henry, who bowled spectacularly well in the second test. But again, Tim South. If you have Tim Southee, you have Trent Boult, you have Carl Jamieson and Neil Wagner. I'm sorry, but Matt Henry has to sit on the sidelines. That's the way things are. And in terms of the other batsmen, you have Tom Blundell, you have Will Young. Will Young, county championship, scored twin hundreds. He was the highest scorer in that second test against England. But even Will Young has to sit out because Kane Williamson comes back into the squad. Tom Blundell only came in because Watling was injured. Otherwise, Blundell would have been in the initial match against England as well. So I think the squad, that's probably, again, I'm going to reiterate what I said about India.
And I want to ask you about Blundell and Watling. I have noticed that in the past 1 year, Watling has not been in good batting form. So it's a good idea that if they continue with Blundell at number 6, because he kept well and he looked in better batting form also.
That's a very good point. And I think Blundell is going to get the reins when Watling retires after this match.
But Watling is going to retire. But will New Zealand go with the emotions that this is his last match, so we should give him the farewell? Or go with the better choice?
There's certain teams, like I'm just going to give you an example. What if MS Dhoni did not get his final game in Test cricket, okay? What if his last game didn't happen? He just abruptly had to go away. That would leave a very sour taste to any Indian fan or any cricketing fan. I think it's the same thing about BJ Watling. He's genuinely been one of the best wicketkeeper batsmen over the past 5-6 years. And I genuinely didn't even think about him as a great keeper until I started watching him play in the last 2-3 years. Yes, he's not in great form with the bat, but he's very good with the gloves. He missed that one stumping. Yes, we can disregard that. However, in terms of the way he conducts himself, and if this is his last game, I think New Zealand will bring emotions into it. We know how emotional players are, how they are about the game. So I think they'll leave Blundell aside and go ahead with Watling, unless they go wild and they drop someone like Devon Conway or Tom Latham and bring Blundell at the top of the order.
They can't drop Conway. Conway scored a double century. He is their most informed batsman right now. It would be a big blunder if they drop Conway. You were saying that New Zealand included Ajaz Patel. That's where I feel that New Zealand is in a very positive and attacking frame of mind. Because this is an attacking move of including Ajaz Patel, while India, when they included Hanuma Vihari, was a defensive move. So this also shows the mindset of both the teams going into this match.
Yeah, I think that Ajaz Patel decision definitely shows their mindset. They've really noticed that, Ajaz Patel, one, is a better spinner in red ball, but also that he will flourish in these conditions. He's one of those wily characters. He's good with in subcontinent conditions. He can be good outside it, but they don't give him that many opportunities. But he's shown, yes, he's good enough. So taking him in, he's a wicket-taking option, as you said, more of an aggressive approach, more attacking approach. And in the end, I think the best case scenario for New Zealand is if they do play a spinner, they play someone who can take wickets, who can't just hold off one end and give you something with the bat, someone who can actually give you 3-4 wickets in on the last day, or even in the first innings, give you a couple of wickets and offer you that much. So that's a very attacking move. I agree with you there.
Well, I feel New Zealand will be going with an all-pace attack because they have all their pacers in good form, and India also has weakness against swing bowling and left-arm pacers. So maybe they will include both Wagner and Trent Bolt, and of course Saudi and Jamieson are going to play, and Colin D. Grandhome will be there as the all-rounder. So I feel that it will be an all-pace attack by New Zealand.
Yeah, all pace attack is exactly what I feel. But when conditions come into it, when everyone mentions that India is probably going to play 2 spinners, and when those types of discussions start happening, some captains do consider, maybe we should play a spinner. But personally, if I tell you, like, objectively, I think if all of their bowlers are fit, and New Zealand goes in with the 4 that you mentioned and Colin de Grandhomme, the only reason why they might go for Ajaz Patel is if they realize, the ball is going to spin here quite a lot, or if the pitch is conducive to spin, that's when they'll drop someone like Jamieson. Or I don't see Wagner, Bolt, or Southee being dropped. That's my personal take, because all 3 of them are absolutely prolific. Kyle Jamieson has been on a tear, so dropping him doesn't make sense, but he's the only expendable option if you want to bring Ajaz Patel into the side. So that's how I see it. But yes, I completely agree that they will go in with an all-pace attack unless things change and it is more conducive to spin.
Okay, comparing both the teams, so where do you feel that in which areas New Zealand score over India in this match? The advantage is...
I think it's hard to say, but if I had to pick one bit, I would say New Zealand's batting might just edge over India. Their batting form. Number 2, they've had all of their batsmen play in these 2 test matches against England. This is a great warm-up for them, playing competitive cricket, getting ready for this final, right? So they're all in a good nick. But if we look at Kane Williamson, he's the only one who looks out of sorts. Everyone else, and even Tom Latham, Devon Conway. How can I not mention Devon Conway's double 100 on debut? We talk about Ross Taylor, Henry Nicholls, Peter Watling, you mentioned as well. So these four out of 6 batsmen look in really good touch. But if we go over to the Indian standpoint, Rishabh Pant, of course, Virat Kohli is a genius, but Shubman Gill never played in England before. Rohit Sharma, outside India as an opener, has not been tested as much. So he's an enigma as well. Cheteshwar Pujara has not been in great touch. However, even the World Test Championship, he can make runs, but he's been kind of shackled. At least that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, he was in poor form against England in home series, both him and Rahane.
Yeah, and just as you mentioned, Ajinkya Rahane is India's highest scorer in the World Test Championship. But if you look at his innings or look at his scores since that 100 against Australia, they've not been impressive. So even himself, as such a great batsman, he's not in the best nick. That's why I think from a New Zealand standpoint, I think that's where New Zealand kind of topples over India right now.
And I think one more area where New Zealand has an advantage is their slip catching, because you will be getting catches in the slip, and you can expect Indian team to drop maybe 2 or 3 catches out of 10, but you will expect the New Zealand to take all their catches in the slips. So that can also prove a decisive factor in a close match.
Agreed. Did you know? I think you're probably referencing the England-New Zealand series where England started to drop catches in the slips, and that cost them dearly. And
what about India's preparation? Like, they are also playing their intra-squad practice matches. How would you see them? Would that be really useful, or not much?
It's useful. Obviously, playing any sort of competitive cricket is useful for training towards a specific final. But that isn't as good of an experience or as good preparation as playing in front of 18,000 people, practicing, playing against an actual proper international side rather than playing against yourself. Even though India right now you could make 2 Indian teams which are absolutely world class. But if we look at the intra-squad game, we saw a couple of good performances. I think Rishabh Pant, Mohammad Siraj, Ishant Sharma, there was a couple. Shubman Gill scored some runs. So they are playing competitive cricket. That's good to get them in some sort of nick. But at the same time, that's not equivalent. So there is a disparity between.
You can also think it like that. If Indian batsmen are scoring so much runs, so why are the bowlers not taking wickets? Are they lacking somewhere? So because the bowlers are also Indians.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Because in an intra-squad game, if any side does well, you always criticize the other one, right? And you can't be happy. You can't say, "Oh, the bowlers did well. Oh, but the batting wasn't good. That's why the bowlers." So it's hard to kind of judge. So yeah, definitely, I think preparation-wise, New Zealand are ahead. And just I want to ask you, what do you think in terms of strengths-wise? What do you think India's strength is over New Zealand?
Well, I would say India's strength, first of all, is that in the batting, although they are not in good form, but they have bigger names. And they must be hungry for runs because Virat Kohli hasn't scored a century for 2 years. And Pujara also has been a prolific run scorer for India, both at home and overseas. And he didn't score runs in the England series. So maybe he might be hungry, both of them, if they can settle down in the middle. And so I think they might play big innings. They would like to make a big 100. And even Rohit Sharma, he would like to prove himself on the overseas tour because he's not a proven test batsman in overseas conditions. So
Yep.
he would also like to prove a point. So I think, first of all, here the bigger names they have, if they click form, then maybe one or two players can make big hundreds. So that can work for India. And secondly, I feel that India definitely has a better spin attack than New Zealand. Even if they play one spinner and the pitch turns, he will be better than if they play a Jas Patel. And I think in one more area, India scores over New Zealand that they have had a tougher journey to the finals. Their journey is slightly longer. They played more overseas tours. So maybe they would be more determined that they wouldn't like to leave this opportunity of winning the World Cup of Test cricket. So maybe they would be more motivated to bring in some good performances. So these things
Yeah.
might work in India's favor.
I agree with you. I was actually going to talk about the spin attack. I think Ashwin and Jadeja together have 95 wickets in the World Test Championship. That's a lot of wickets. Most teams don't even have that as a collective, but there's just two spinners together. They've taken so many wickets. So yeah, the spin attack is absolutely prolific, and that's going to be one of the key aspects why India might win is that amazing spin attack that they have. But also can't disregard the pace attack that India now has as well at their disposal. You have Ishant Sharma, who just recently clocked 300 wickets. You've got Mohammad Shami, who's coming back from injury, but he's still absolutely brilliant. You have Jasprit Bumrah, who's just in a league apart from, especially away from home. He's just brilliant. So, yeah, I agree. They're bowling. And one thing you actually mentioned that I would agree with is that hunger that, the India has. Because what they start doing is they lose the first game of a series and then win the series. But the issue is there's only one game here. So
Well, here it might be that they will perform bad in the first innings, and maybe in the second innings you will see them performing really well. It can happen that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So, who you think will be the players to watch out from both the teams who can perform really well in this match? Who would you pick in the batting and bowling for both the teams?
Okay, so if I look at India, I think I have to go someone like Rishabh Pant. I think Rishabh Pant has shown at least over the last 7 months, that you can never disregard India when you have Rishabh Pant in the side. So Rishabh Pant has to be my batsman for India. And for New Zealand, I think someone like Devin Conway or Kane Williamson, one of those will definitely fire on all cylinders. The issue is, and this is where I just want to be slightly more detailed, Devin Conway is a left-handed batsman. If you have Ravi Ashwin on the other end, he might just get out very, very quickly.
So I think in these conditions, Ravi Ashwin will be coming to bowl maybe after 18, 20 overs because this is not India.
Even then, even in those situations, I'm just trying to cast my mind back to 2018 and 2014 when Moeen Ali came in and absolutely warped India's batting with a couple of fivers. So I'm trying to relate it to that Ravichandran Ashwin, because of the skill he has, and especially against left-handers, all the lefties in New Zealand will find it difficult to face against him. So for me, it's maybe Conway, but I think more likely Kane Williamson will have something to prove here. And in terms of the bowling, I've already said his name. I think it'll be Ravichandran Ashwin is going to be key for India in this. And again, he might not play, but more likely than not, Ravichandran Ashwin is going to play. He's going to be key for them. And from a New Zealand standpoint, it's a toss up. It's a toss up between any four of their main bowlers, right? But I think Neil Wagner is underrated. A lot of people are talking about Trent Bolt, they're talking about Tim Southey, but Neil Wagner in slightly flatter conditions is so dangerous. He doesn't bowl above 75, 80 miles an hour, but his bouncers are exactly where you need to bowl bounces to get wickets. So I think Neil Wagner for me from the New Zealand standpoint.
Okay. Yeah, I would pick Rohit Sharma from India as batsman and Bumrah in the bowling department. And from New Zealand, I would pick Devon Conway and Trent Bolt. That would be my players. So, what's your now prediction about the match? I know you are supporting you are supporting Indian team.
I'm supporting India, but I know New Zealand is going to win. So
So your
I'm
prediction is in favor of New Zealand. That New Zealand has an upper hand.
yes, yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel that a draw is also a strong possibility here, considering the rainfall prediction on all 5 days, and there might be a joint winner also. So let's see what happens, and we only hope that there is not too much of rain, and we actually get to see a wonderful game of cricket.
Exactly. I hope the same because, June in England, it's going to rain. It's going to rain like crazy anyway. So right now, the sun was out. All day today, the sun is out. But 2 days from now, it will be raining. It says 70, 80% precipitation percentage. And then it goes down on Saturday and then goes back up on Sunday and Monday. So let's hope the rain stays away. Maybe between 11 and 6 o'clock, there is no rain. But otherwise, there is some sort of rain because we really need a proper conclusion. I know you said a draw is still a viable option. A draw is still good. But this championship, the first final, needs to have one champion, in my opinion. And I think, and I say it again, I think that's going to be New Zealand.
Okay. So in the end, anything else you would like to say or ask?
Well, just that I'm truly honored to be on your channel. Definitely, it's been a pleasure. It's been really a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of great, interesting points, which I would love to use in my future videos as well. So thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Thank you, Asjad. Nice talking to you.
You as well.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.